Hey everyone, it's Milos. I just wanted to touch on the webhook security, which we didn't have the time to explore during the masterclass, to give you a little bit more value. By default, N8N leaves everything open. So I will activate this webhook in my flow so we can test with it. I want to actually show you everything that you can do with a webhook. If we leave the authentication to none, as it would be by default, and we copy our production URL, anybody with this production URL, if it calls it, it will be able to activate our workflow and then use anything that comes after it. I'm going to send a message called hello. So we're going to send it. It says the webhook is not found. Okay, let's find out why. Are we using the production one? Yes. Back to the canvas, save it, and now since there is no authentication, this should say workflow has started, which was expected behavior. Now we don't want that and don't ship the products like that. This is good only if you're testing something internally. Now once we get into securing the webhooks, the first one is the basic authentication. Now in the basic authentication, we have to set a key pair of test, and for the password let's use 12345. We'll save it, we'll save our workflow so it activates the changes, and then we'll go to the basic authentication here. First thing we need to do is actually set that on our hook, set the username test and the password to 12345. Once we have done so, and we confirm that we are sending it to the right webhook, we can send it and check what happens. It says the workflow has started. This gives you an example how you can secure it in a very basic method with the username and a password. If we try no authentication now, it will say authorization is required. The next level of authentication is header authentication, which is something we use in our HTTP requests to get API calls and similar. This is the same way somebody will activate our workflows. So we will switch to header authentication and we will set header credentials. Let's use demo as a name and let's use it as 12345 like in the previous example. Now since this is using headers, this is not using any authorization method. It will be none, but in the headers we will have to manually add a demo as a key number, as a key value, and a value of 12345, which we set as our credentials. Once we have that and we send it, it's going to say authorization is required because we haven't changed the workflow to affect the changes. Once this is done and we can see that header auth is there and we send the webhook request again, the workflow has started. So this is very basic ways with the static content to assure that your workflows have some sort of security. The problem here is if this gets leaked, your username and password or the key pairs, you are exposed. Next level is the JSON Web Tokens or JWT auth. Now we need to set that as authorization type and we need to give it a secret key. Now that secret key will encrypt the payload that we are sending with our JSON. Now in our webhook, we're going to change authentication type to JWT. And in there, we're going to have to set this same passphrase. Now once we save it and set it, we need to save the flow so the changes are registered. And if we try to do it with the basic authentication like we did a moment ago, it's going to say that JWT is malformed. In no authentication, it's going to say that no token is provided. In the header auth, no token provided. But in JWT, once we click this, we just need to go to the right webhook and send it. We're going to start the workflow. Now, the next level that we talked about in the masterclass is HMAC. HMAC is the grown-up option where the sender signs the raw body of a message with a shared secret with the HMAC SHA-256 algorithm and sends the signature in the header together with the timestamp. On our end, the N8N will use the crypto module and it will recompute what it receives from our end. It will use the secret key to compare the hashes, and then if the hashes match what was received with what was calculated, we will be able to continue. There is no secret or key or token being transmitted over the wire. There is nothing the hackers can sniff and use as a replay attack. Now, to test this, we're going to go to the HMAC authorization. We'll need to set up a few things first. First is to share that key with our client that's going to use it to encrypt. To do that, we'll use a script as a pre-request script. In it, we're going to set this secret called my secret key 123 exclamation at and hash sign. This is the same key that we set in our credentials in the crypto node. So this is crucial part. Once this is in place, it will not be transmitted over the wire, and without it, to generate that kind of hash is impossible without the secret key. Now in the headers, we will be sending the X signature header, which has the HMAC signature calculated from the script, and the content type will be application JSON. Let's make sure this is saved. Let's make sure that we are actually using the correct production URL. And let's set it. Once it's set, we can send this request and it will say success, HMAC signature verified. What would happen if an attacker would get hold of this key? So let's say we are a malicious hacker and we want to set this. So we would go and we would copy the X signature. We would add the value. We would copy the content type, which is something that can be done if you're listening and trying to replay the attack. And then we have the body that we are actually encrypting against. Now, this will never be sent. It will just be sent the hash of this. So the hacker has no way of knowing that this is exactly the body. And if they try to manipulate the data, once they receive it, trying to execute an SQL injection or similar, and if they send this, look what happens. It says invalid HMAC signature, because that signature was valid only for this specific data at that specific point in time. So there is a timestamp here and there is a timestamp here, which are different. And only the timestamp that is generated every time, it's going to be valid HMAC signature. Now, if we want to stack the security and make it really, really secure, we can stack JSON web tokens with HMAC authentication. So we'll do that right here. Ooh, there's a typo. Let's call it HMAC authentication. In this method, we're going to set the same signatures. We're going to add the same script for pre-request with the same secret. And on top, we're going to send the authorization method as a JWT bearer token with the same secret. So in our webhook, we'll need to change authentication to JWT, adding additional level of security. Save it so it takes effect. Make sure that we're using the correct webhook. And now we can test out this version as well. As you can see, it passed and HMAC signature is now verified. If we try just the JWT, but of course we have to use the correct webhook. It will say that it's invalid HMAC signature. The same thing will happen if we try to use HMAC only. It will say no token provided. Only if we use stacked security, JSON Web Tokens, and HMAC authentication, we're going to get to where we need to be. And we're going to verify the signatures. Now, why this is important? Let's talk about HMAC a little bit more. It's a secret handshake for webhooks. It's a cryptographic signature divided by a mathematical equation where a shared secret key is used to sign the entire message. In practice, the sender computes something and encodes the result and includes it in the header with a timestamp. The receiver does the same computation of the received payload and compares the signatures. If they match, the payload is confirmed intact and genuinely from someone holding the secret. In short, HMAC means that both sender and receiver know a secret, and the sender stamps the payload with the hash of that secret. This verifies data integrity and data authenticity at once. Popular services like Stripe, GitHub, Slack, or Stripe, they use this kind of security for their webhooks. Now, who needs to actually use this? If your webhook carries critical data or comes from an external source, it's worth it to secure it like this. It does carry a little bit of complexity, but for the peace of mind that it provides you, it's totally worth the effort. I hope you got the value from this, and if you need anything, feel free to tag me in the forum and we can take it from there. Have a good weekend.